Hello, ma'am. Am I audible? Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Hello. Yeah. I can hear you.
So, welcome back to the session two of this, and we'll be resuming the session.
Yeah, please. Can I just get started?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Okay. So the next session we wanted to take was on the legal roadmap for entrepreneurs and business structures. So the idea behind is we wanted to tell you what are all the the business structures that are available, what you can register, and what are all the different government schemes that you can benefit from. Okay. And just give me a second. Get started. So first, we look at what are the different forms of entities that you can consider for registration. So one is a limited liability partnership, and then you have a partnership firm which can be registered, and also you can register as a company. Of course, you do have sole proprietorship, but that is something we don't register. So a sole proprietorship, you can just get started with minimal documents. Okay. So just to get into each of it. So I'll just tell you what exactly a limited liability partnership is. So LLP, the concept was recognized under our LLP Act 2008, and so the difference between a partnership and an LLP is you can operate under a different identity of your own. Okay, so that is the partners and the entity will be different. And then you have limited or restricted liability. So a partner's liability is restricted to their capital sharing ratio only. And then the partners have to sign up on a partnership agreement, okay, and agree to certain terms and conditions. And the agreement has to be duly signed, stamped, and notarized. Okay. And then, so there are certain minimum requirements for you to register something as an entity as an LLP. So you at least need two designated partners. So you need two people to form an LLP, and you should also, and one of them should at least one of their identification number, like how directors have an identification number. Each of the partners will also be allocated a DPIN, so which can be used for even multiple LLPs or multiple companies if they are part of. And then all the partners will require a digital certificate, okay, a digital signing certificate, which also should be submitted. So, and delving a little deep on what are the documents required. So, you'll require a photograph of yourself, your proof of identity, PAN, and address of each of the partners. If any of the partner is a foreigner, then you need a passport of the partner, and you'll also require the proof of address of the registered office. And in some places, the registry will also require for a no objection certificate from the Office of Property. And then you also need to file the LLP agreement within 30 days from the date of incorporation of your LLP. So getting a little bit into the procedure, as we initially mentioned, you need a digital certificate and a director and a designated partner identification number for each of the partners. And then the application form is called as Run LLP, which can be filed under the MCA portal registration certificate. So, and then after receiving your certificate, as we already mentioned, so within 30 days in Form 3, you also have to file your LLP agreement, which is a compliance requirement. So, and then moving on to the next type of entity, which is a partnership firm. So, a partnership firm again requires a minimum of two people to run a partnership firm. If it is only one person, it will be called a sole proprietor, and maximum of 20 people. So beyond 20 people, you cannot have a partnership firm. It has to get converted to a LLP or a corporate. And then moving on to the other aspects of a partnership firm. So you usually have a profit and a loss sharing ratio between the parties, and it is also if you're a partnership firm, it is registrable and recognizable under the Partnership Act of 1932. But if you ask me if registration is mandatory, no. So a registration under the Partnership Act is optional. However, we'll tell you what are the benefits of registering under the Partnership Act. So, and another aspect is when you commence business, you also get your partnership deed or an agreement to set out all the terms and conditions between the partners. So, the minimum requisites for a partnership firm is again two partners you require, and you also require a partnership deed or an agreement which is duly stamped and notarized. You will also require a new, unique name for your partnership firm and the relevant documents. So the benefits of registrations, as I was telling you, so registration is not mandatory. But if you choose to register your trademark, if you choose to register your partnership firm, so you will have a right to sue, against third parties. You have a right to file a case against third parties. If you do not register your partnership firm, so what happens is people are still free to sue your firm, but you will not be able to sue any third party for any claims that you may have. Similarly, you will not be also be able to set off your claims in a third party suit or a case. So you also have a lot of tax benefits and tax deductions for set off and all, which you can claim under the partner if your partnership firm is registered in India. And again, it enhances the credibility before your customers, employees, and investors because a registered firm always has its own value. Okay. And what is the procedure? It's fairly simple compared to your LLP registration. You just have to file an application with the district registrar along with the payment of fees and the verified documents, and it has to be duly, the stamp duty has to be paid, and you will require a certification of application by the Gazette officer. And then the application will be reviewed, and the registrar of firms will issue a approval for you. Then moving on to the third type of entity, which we were talking about, is companies. So a company registration, there are different types of companies. So first is a public limited company. Like all of us know, it is registered under the Companies Act. And in a public limited company are the ones, maybe it could be listed or unlisted public company. But the main feature is your shares are freely tradable, are freely transferable. So the requirement for a public company is you need minimum 7 shareholders and minimum of 3 directors, where at least one is a Indian resident. So the company will be run and owned by the shareholders. And again, the unique aspect of companies is your liability is limited to your stakes in the company. So if you're a shareholder, it will be limited to your shareholding in the company. The next type is a private limited company, which is most prevalent now. So there you need a minimum of 2 shareholders and a maximum of 200 shareholders. So beyond 200 shareholders, you have to mandatorily convert it to a public limited company. Okay, and then you need minimum 2 directors, where at least one of them is an Indian resident. And the third type is a one-person company. So, how a one-person company is a scale-up version of a sole proprietorship. So, in a sole proprietorship, you have all the liability on yourself. Like the company, I'm sorry, the entity and the sole proprietor are not different. However, in a one-person company, it is again run by a single person. However, the entity will be taken as a different, will be a unique party, and your liabilities will be limited in case of an OPC. And again, in an OPC, you will require either the proprietor himself can be a director, or he can also have additional directors. So moving on to the next one, we probably get into the registration process. So if you want to learn more about a company registration, again, it's we'll require a DSC and a DIN. Like how DPIN is for a LLP, then Director Identification Number is an application for all other types of companies that we discussed now. Okay, and that is for the directors and the promoters. And then the relevant form is called as Spice Plus, which has to be filed, in the MCA portal. So you will also initially file an application for getting your name approved. You will submit a couple of name options, and once your name is approved, you can proceed with the company registration, and then your registration will be granted in a certain number of days. And for registration of a company, the basic requisites are you'll require an ROC approved name, and then you will also require the director identification number and the director and sorry and the digital signature certificates for the promoters. And we'll require proof of address of all the members, a registered address, and the promoters PAN, Aadhaar card, and ID proof. And the company usually has memorandum of association and memorandum of and articles of association, which also have to be filed with the registry. So these are the three type of entities that we can form. So it can be an LLP or a partnership or a company registration. So next we'll probably move into the different kind of schemes that are available for new companies. So one is a startup, and the other one we'll be discussing about is the MSME registration and the schemes. So in startup registration, for you to be registered in Startup India, there are certain criteria which have to be met with. So what constitutes a startup is you will have to register your entity in any of as any of the entities we've discussed earlier. So either as a private limited company, a public limited company, a one-person company, a limited liability partnership, or a registered partnership firm. If you are not a registered partnership firm, you will not be able to get the benefits of the Startup India initiative. So the second criteria is your startup should be in operation for less than 10 years to get the benefits. And then your turnover cannot exceed 100 crores in any given year. And then you focus towards innovation and development. So the idea of your business to be, it has to be focused towards innovation or development or bringing in of any improvement of a technology, product, or a service. It should have a scalable business, and it should create wealth and employment. So these are the things that the Startup India initiative looks at before they even accept your application. So our next slide will be on what constitutes an MSME and what is an MSME. So MSME is nothing but micro, small, and medium enterprises. So if you do not fall under the category of a startup, like either you do not have a innovative idea, or if for any reasons if your turnover exceeds 100 crores, but still another option that is available for you is the micro, small, and medium enterprise. So I'll tell you there are certain thresholds which will bring you under these. So this is governed by the MSMED Act of 2006. And for a company to be a micro enterprise, there are two criteria that are to be satisfied. Your investment in plant and machinery and equipment cannot exceed 1 crore rupees, and your annual turnover cannot exceed 5 crores. And secondly, if you're looking at a small enterprise, then if your investment is plant and machinery cannot exceed 10 crores, and your turnover cannot exceed 50 crores. And thirdly, to classify as a medium enterprise, your investment in plant and machinery cannot exceed 50 crores, and your annual turnover in any given year cannot exceed 250 crores. So there are basically two kinds of MSMEs. So I was a flagship project of Government of India in back in 2016, and they had leveraged about 19 action plans to support startups in different facets of their growth. And the idea behind is to provide them with enhanced facilities and availability of incubation centers that we see throughout India now. And the main idea was also to simplify, and and since there are a lot of startups coming, they also wanted to bring up the scheme which will handhold them throughout the process. And there are certain requisite documents for you to register under the Startup India scheme. So one is you need the copy of certificate of registration or incorporation. As we said, we require the entity to be registered, right? So you will have to you'll have to submit the incorporation certificate. And then if it is a company, you'll have to file the memorandum of association. If it is an LLP or a partnership firm, then you have to submit the LLP or the partnership agreement. You will also require a strong write-up of the nature of your business. So this is what sets out, the basis for whether your business has an innovative idea which will bring you under the Startup India scheme. And then the next is your website link, any pitch decks, any patents, or any IP that you have filed. And then finally, we have the details of the director. Sorry, just give me a second. And the other requisite documents are to be filed. And then moving on to the registration process as such. So you'll have to file an application along with all of the requisite documents that we mentioned a while back. And then the application will be reviewed by the government, and they will look at the documents submitted, and they'll see if your business qualifies and it doesn't meet any of the thresholds that has been mentioned for a startup requirement. And then the submission process, if everything is in if you have all the licenses, everything in place, then the application will be scrutinized by the DPIIT, and then the recognition for startup will be issued. So once you have the startup certificate, you can go ahead and make use of a lot of benefits. So, to move on to the benefits under a startup registration scheme. So, firstly, you get tax exemptions. So, one is you get a angel tax relief under Section 56. And one of the most important tax benefits is it provides you with a tax holiday of about 3 years in any of the first 10 financial years. Right. So, even when you just start making profits, you can make use of the tax holiday or the tax haven provided. And the next one is public procurement and tender participation. So, as a startup, if you want to participate in any tenders of government, so they have provided a lot of relaxations on the prior experience criteria that the government usually sets for. And there is also a relief on the EMD, which is the earnest money deposit, the deposit that you have to pay, or the turnover criteria, which are certain prerequisites for tender participation. So all of these are relaxed if you have the startup certificate in place. And also, there's a concept of self-certification. This is in terms of compliance. If you have, like the owner of a startup can, self-certify that they have complied with certain environmental laws and certain labor laws, and 3 years for the three environmental laws, and for about 5 years under six labor laws, saying we have complied with the requisite, the legal compliances, so which will necessarily help you from avoiding any, visits from the officials or any investigations or audits on your company. The next thing is easy exit strategy. Under the IBC, if you want to exit your company, then within 90 days, you can go for a insolvency bankruptcy case, and you can have your company exited. And the final one is IP application. So last session we discussed about what are the benefits for IP. So you also have expedited application process. Similarly, on the filing fees for patents, copyrights, and designs, sorry, patents, trademarks, and copyrights, there are also rebates which are provided by the government. So there is a discount on the government fee which has been provided for the others. So about 50 to 80% discount you can claim if you have a startup certificate. And then moving on to the MSME. So once you get your Udyam Aadhaar certificate, that is you qualify as an MSME, you file the requisite documents. So the next thing is the benefits you get under the MSME scheme is you get access to a lot of credits and collateral free loans. So in your initial phase of business, getting loans is something extremely critical, and you will get these at a much cheaper rate by way of your MSME certificate. And the next thing is you also have a lot of access to many government schemes, subsidies, and initiatives which have been brought up by the government. And then you also have protection against delayed payments, so which is with any service providers or any of your customers. So you have a window period of 45 days within which, if you are an MSME certified entity, the other party has to pay you within 45 days. And if they fail to pay, you have recourse under the MSME Act. You can raise disputes, and even the interest under the MSME Act is computed, on a compounded monthly interest payment. It is not even the simple interest that is calculated. And again, there are a lot of government procurement. So any tenders, anything coming up, you will have a priority over the other applications. And you also get concessions on electricity bills and other facilities. So similar to startups, even MSME have the same level of protection for expedited application and discounts on filing their patent trademark applications. And moving on to the documents required for registering as an MSME. So you will require the applicant's identity proof, Aadhaar and PAN number. And you will also require the product services and the name and description. So what happens is there are certain categories under which your MSME will be registered. So you will also have to provide your annual production capacity to ensure that there are certain thresholds that we discussed, right, on your annual turnover and on the investments. So to show that you have not exceeded, you'll also have to submit those documents. If you have a GSTIN available, then you have to supply that as well. And then is your registered office address from where you are doing your business. So these are the basic requirements for you to register. And getting into the actual process of registration. So first you can register yourself under the Udyam registration process, the portal. You'll have to log in and you have to file the application details. And we have given you the list of documents required, which is also available on the website. And then you have to validate the details and you have to furnish the requisite information about your entity. And then you have to fill in the account details of the enterprise. And finally, you also have the details of your main business activity and which are the categories under which you are filing this. And then the government, what they do is they will scrutinize your application, the provided documents, and they'll immediately grant you with an e-certificate in a quite short span of time. So yeah, so that's about it on our MSME startups and what are the benefits you get out of it. So if you have any doubts or any specific queries, we'll be happy to address.
We'll be asking you with the question.
Yeah, sure.
2 minutes, ma'am. We'll be asking some doubts.
Sure, sure.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, hi.
I had a question. What would be the expected cost of registration for the MSMEs and startups?
Okay, so cost details, if you need, you can just write to us. We will actually give the details separately because there will be, like fee codes and other things involved. So there will be government fee, there will be miscellaneous expenses, and also professional fees that comes in. Yeah.
Right. Have you seen startups and MSMEs make, and that you think that it would have been better, like if they had avoided during like their early stages of growth?
So see, majorly, what I see is the contractual, issues, because what they do is they just randomly download available templates or something, and without understanding what exactly their business requirement is, they just randomly sign contracts. So what happens is, first thing, it uh, not just your protection is a problem there, you also get into unnecessary pitfalls. You get into commitments, you get into liabilities, financial or legal, which is technically not intended, right? You just randomly sign documents. I think that is one of the major issues that our clients come up with. They say, no, we signed this contract, now we are in a problem, how can we navigate it? And similarly, lack of awareness on the compliance part. So what are the things that you have to file? So all these, so there are a lot of websites who just say, okay, within so many days you can get your company registered. But the thing is, there are a lot of process and compliance which follows the registration also. So if you don't go through proper channels and attorneys who can help you with the registration process, so there are also clients who come to us saying, okay, now we need to just wind up the company. No business has happened, but they'll end up paying huge penalties because the compliance was not taken care of. So I think it's more of the legal awareness. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I had a doubt. I'm Anu here.
Yeah,
So the
hi.
doubt was, what are the steps for like protecting any personal assets and limiting liability for founders, like in MSMEs and different startups? So,
Okay, so the limitation of liability, so that is what will help you choose which entity you want to get into. So, like I told you, in a partnership firm, your liability is unlimited. So, if you want to limit your liability, then you will have to get into an LLP or a company. So that will help you choose the type of entity that you want to register.
okay,
Okay.
ma'am. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, ma'am. I had one more question.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, like in the last session, also you mentioned that you need to sign an IP, like you need to create an IP and you need to sign NDAs and all. So how should like start? Like I have a very basic idea. So how should like in a beginner stage, a startup or an should approach drafting these contracts with their clients or their suppose I have a supplier. Like I am at a very beginning stage. So how should I like
Right,
get
right.
started with things like this? Because I don't need such an intricate document right now, I'm guessing.
Agreed. See, but the thing is, it depends on your idea, right? If your idea is going to come to fruition, then it's important that you have an extensive contract in place. So that is, as you said, that is also one of the pitfalls I see because a lot of our clients come because they've just downloaded a simple draft. See, people don't set out budget for IP or legal until there is a problem, right? So it's important that you reach out to attorneys who will help you with drafting, a robust watertight contract. NDAs are simple. They're like available. If you can just ensure that the information is not getting transcended and there are no, do not agree to any limitation on the period of disclosure. Sometimes it says after 3 years you're free to disclose. After the term of the agreement you're free to disclose. So ensure that those clauses are not there. That your confidentiality is protected for a longer period of time. Yeah.
Right, right. So at what stage of an idea, like do I need to have a product ready or do I need to just think that like what level of implement, like at what level should it be a physical thing, my idea, for me to start getting involved with all of this? Should it just be a project or should it just be like a working project, or should I have contacted people who might be interested as buyers, or at what stage do I start thinking about making these things basically?
As in filing your IP or contracts.
Can you tell me for both?
Okay, so see, IP, as I told you, even before you disclose your invention to anybody, you will have to ensure that you file your IP and you see. So that is a concept of provisional application. So at the idea stage, you can file an application and then you have a window of 12 months to file your complete specification. So which means once your idea is into a product form or you have a more tangent thing that you can protect, then you can file it at a later point of time. But the thing is, from the date of filing your provisional IP application, your IP will be protected.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah. So from contractual perspective, as I told you, anything that you want to discuss, ensure that an NDA is in place, or you have proper contractual arrangement with any stakeholder that you work with. Yeah.
Right. Just to follow up, I wanted to ask, in your experience or like, generally, how do you think all of this binds with, because we hear a lot about, the importance of collaboration and stuff like that. So how do you think you deal with the necessity of needing to have like, IPs and contracts and stuff like that, but also the importance of collaborating with people from different domains so that you get a more generalized idea of how to improve your product more?
Right. So, see again, like I told you, it's contractually only. You need to see how which part of IP. How do you want to own it? Okay, because as you said, so like I told you, if you're getting a software developed by another party, and say both of you are founders, say you have the idea, he's doing the software. If both of you are founders, then the arrangement is different, right? The company will have the IP. However, if you're just engaging the software developer, as a consultant, then from a consultancy agreement perspective, you should ensure that you have the right over the IP.
Right.
Uh, have I addressed your query or?
Um, I understood how you would deal with it. both are founders, but what I wanted to ask was, suppose the person is not a founder, but I'm, just you're in discussion with someone about how to improve a product, or like you're in discussion with some specialists. Like, how do you manage the balance between collaboration and the need to protect your asset? Is what I wanted to ask.
Okay, so okay, so I think that was the answer for that also. So even if it's a collaboration, so you need to set out what exactly the boundaries are. Okay, so that is where the problem happens because people just get started on the work. And when something comes to fruition and when you're actually at the commercialization or the exploitation stage is when the problem, comes up as to who has which share of the IP or who will get the commercialization rights or who will be able to, get the profits of the business.
Right.
So in a normal commercial, or if it's just any third party that you're dealing with, of course your non-disclosure agreement will take care of it. That they will not be able to, disclose or transcend your detail further. The idea of NDA is just to ensure that your idea is still patentable, and you also parallelly get into, registering your IP.
Right, right. I think that's all from my side. Well, yeah, that's it.
Um, I had a question.
Yeah, hi.
Hi,
Hi,
ma'am.
Rachel. Huh.
So, yeah. My question was about partnership firms. So you said
Mhm.
that registrations of partnerships are optional, right? So,
Right.
like, what is the guarantee that, assuming that there is no contract per se, like that
Mm-hmm.
is written down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the guarantee for the people, for the partners, about the terms, how things go about in their company?
Huh. So that is what, as I told you, like partnership firm, even if you don't want to register your agreement, one of the prerequisites is you should have a agreement in place at least for your profit sharing, and who will take which role. So I think agreement is a fundamental for any partnership arrangement.
So is it like mandatory to have like a written partnership? Because I think, in India, like even verbal agreements are
Verbal
very
agreements are valid, but say tomorrow if there's a dispute,
correct.
how will we go about establishing this was arrangement? See, in
Right.
India, oral agreements are valid, right? But we
Yeah,
always
yeah.
get into a written contract to ensure that we are aligned, we're on the same page, and if there are any disputes, we're still able to take it to the court.
Right. So even if it's a verbal agreement, it's
Mm-hmm.
legally valid, right?
So it will be valid, but what happens is from a practical perspective, okay, if you say you're a partnership firm, you want to open a bank account, or if you want to, get into any agreement or any arrangement with any third party, they would require you to have at least an agreement or an arrangement in place. That is what adds the authenticity to it, right? So it is not mandatory. Like I told you, having an agreement in place is safer.
Right, right.
And registering the agreement will give you the other plethora of benefits that's available under the startup scheme and other things. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's all from our side. Ma'am, your words were truly thought provoking. And on behalf of all the students attending here, I would like to thank you again for such a knowledgeable session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry to
All right.
interrupt. And
Yeah, yeah, sure.
quick question, yeah, before we
Yeah,
leave.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Ma'am, you said about one person company and sole
Mm-hmm.
proprietorship as well, right?
Right,
So
right.
in sole proprietorship, uh,
Mm-hmm.
is it that I'm just running the company on my terms, there's nothing written and things like that, but what is the difference between a private company and like a sole proprietorship?
See, the thing is, okay, so sole proprietorship, the liability, like anything goes wrong with the company, you will have personal liability. Your entity and you are not different. So your creditors will also have the right to, take your personal property as liability. Okay. So, but a company formation, the entity is different from the person who's running it. Okay, and a private company, a one person company is also a type of private limited company, but the thing is, for a private company the requirement is minimum two people.
Correct.
right? So that is why they came up with the one person company concept where one person will be running the company. But the thing is, again, there'll be a lot of compliance and a lot of filings, to ensure that you run it as a private company.
Yeah. So basically, it's like, I have assets in the company itself. And if
Yes.
there is any liability that comes up, like whatever the company has, like my liability ends there. Like,
Ends
cannot
there. Exactly. Exactly.
asset.
So
Right.
any liabilities, assets will be that of the companies only. So and it will be restricted only to your shareholding. Say if you
Right.
have invested so much as a shareholder in the company, that is all your liability is. Yeah.
And
That's why it's called as limited liability. Yeah.
let's say that I start a company as a one person company. Okay. And I want to convert it into a private limited company. Like I want to have two directors or something like that.
Right, right. Huh.
So is that a very normal procedure, or is there like a
That
long?
is, that is doable. See, the thing is, there are also certain thresholds, right? So if you have another person who's coming in, and there are also certain other criteria where if you cannot run as a one-person company, you can transition it to a private company. Similarly, from a private company, also, if you have more than seven shareholders who want to move it to a public company, still the transitions can be made. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
You
It's
have
just
to
that
file the relevant documents. You'll have to pay the fees and all that to move the company. Yeah, from
correct.
a private to a public company or a one person to a private limited company.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Ma'am, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
I guess that's all the questions. So thank you again, ma'am, for this wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.